Now you've picked your show, you've got a good start on rehearsals. Now, you've got to make an actual show happen. Blocking is the section of your rehearsal process where you actually just direct everyone where they move on the stage. It can be very simple, it can be very complex, you can get extremely technical with blocking, or you can be very simple. The great thing about blocking is you've watched blocking your entire life. Every movie you've ever seen is all blocking. Now in movies, you're also blocking the camera angles. The directors are moving the cameras, so your vantage point changes as a movie viewer. In theater, all you can move are your actors and the sets on stage. So your job is just to decide where they go. The beauty is there's no real rules about it. You get to do whatever you want. If you feel like in this part of the scene should happen over here, you block it there. If you feel like the actors should be walking while they're talking in this line, you just tell them to walk while they talk and you show them where to go. So blocking can be very simple or very complex. It's completely up to you. I like to stick with very realistic sort of blocking. That means if I feel like someone would be talking while they're walking, I'm gonna feel that out myself. I'm gonna walk out that line and feel if I was having that conversation with someone that I know, where would I stop? Where would I turn? Where would I emphasize what I'm saying with my arms? So I like to find the realism in it because that tends to translate more easily to an audience, whereas an audience member, you're just always putting yourself in place of the character, right? What would I do in that situation? And typically you can judge an acting performance based on how believable it is. Some of that believability comes from realism, being realistic in your movements. And that often simplifies my blocking quite a bit. I can get artistic and crazy and I want there to be swirly swirls and people going this direction and that direction. Realism brings me back down and says, I don't need all that. What are the bare bones I need to get my story across? How do I want to tell this story? A lot of times actors can help you with that because they can tell you, it feels weird to sit down right here. Then I can stop and think, well, what if I have you sit down on the next line? How does that feel? They can help you with that if they're aware and thinking about it. If you're dealing with younger actors, sometimes the simpler is better and you say, nope, just sit down right there and let's practice it again, do it again until they're able to discipline their body and mind to do what you're asking them to do. One great tool I love with blocking is I like to use visuals. So I'll do diagrams for one thing, because that's one thing I can look at later and see. But when I'm first blocking, I really like to use something I can move around with my hands. Manipulatives, right? I've used spices from the spice cabinet on more than one occasion. Checkers are also a great way to do it. As long as you have a checker to represent every actor on the stage in that scene, then you can move them and start to think, visualize, where are they moving on stage? And it can be as simple as this character comes on stage, this character comes to meet them, this character goes back off stage, this character goes off stage there. That would be an entire scene blocked right there. You just have to decide, where are your entrances and exits? Where's your audience? Is there any way to get down to the house, the audience from the stage? Where is your curtain? Those kinds of things of what you need to take into consideration as you're blocking your show. The more preparation you can do on blocking ahead of time, the easier time you'll have in rehearsals because you'll already have a sense of what's happening, where we're going, how the story is getting told, where the conflict is, where the resolutions are, where the dramatic moments are. There's a old song that says, "Leave a tender moment alone." That holds true in blocking because the more dramatic the scene, typically the less movement you want to have on stage, unless it's a fight, in which case, Google stage combat. You'll learn a lot on there about how to block your actors in stage combat in such a way that they can't accidentally injure themselves or somebody else. Here's a real quick overview of blocking, stagecraft, some of the terminology, just so you know. Stage, there's a front, a back, a left side, a right side. When you're moving your actors towards the front of the stage, that's moving downstage. If you're moving your actors towards the back of the stage, that's called upstage. So anytime you're moving actors, as a matter of fact, it's a fun game to play with your cast. Say everybody move downstage and see which way they go. It's a way to teach terminology. Going towards the right while standing on stage is conveniently called stage right. Going towards the left, stage left. All right, backstage is anywhere behind the curtain, not visible to the audience, and that's the basics you need to know of blocking. There is center stage, is the very center of the stage. It's a line that goes all the way down the middle of the stage. So you have down center is the very front of your stage. That's where the diva stands. That's where the big song takes place usually. Down center stage, as a matter, we'll call it DSC in blocking, down stage center. Now there's up center, which would be the back of the stage up in the middle. It's a less used place than down center. Up left is up here. Down left is down here. Up right, down right. So it's basically quadrants on the stage. So you can figure out where your people need to go and then label them accordingly. It's just a way to keep it uniform for everyone. So if you remember, up left is over here, then they have to figure out what up left is. It's a fun game to play, quadrant game, and see how many people get it right. And it's a fun way to sort of encourage everyone to learn as you go. Quick tips, do's and don'ts for blocking. Main thing you got to remember is you want to always have your actors facing forward. There's a thing we call cheating out in theater, whereas if I'm turning to talk to a person that's ostensibly on my right side, in theater, I wouldn't turn this way, I would turn like this. So cheating out means I'm constantly always open to my audience. So just keep that in mind when you're blocking. A strong don't for blocking is to ever turn anyone around. So unless it's in choreography, unless it's been blocked by your choreographer and it's part of a dance and it's very short, you always think of performance on stage as being open to the audience. If you're turning to have a conversation with someone this way, you can turn slightly, but for the most part, keep the conversation open. Another common problem with blocking is to upstage someone with blocking. If someone is coming down this way and that they go in front of someone standing here, that's called upstaging. So you want to just make sure they're always offset. If someone is standing here and this person moves over here, you're going to do something called countering and have this person counter and move over here. So you just want to keep things open, visible to the audience. Just remember, you're telling the story for your audience. You want them to be able to see everything at all times. And like we said, you've seen a lot of blocking. You've watched a lot of movies and TV shows. If you start to pay attention, you'll watch what's happening. You'll realize this person came towards the camera, this person went around behind. You're like, they countered. You're going to start to see what's happening on a daily basis as you watch it in film and TV. This part of the rehearsal process where you're teaching the blocking, it can be the most fun and the most frustrating. Teaching real humans to move around the way you've got marked on your diagram can prove to be a little more difficult than you thought, especially since they move. It can be a little like herding cats at times. But the more you are precise and simple with your blocking and the more you're precise and simple with your instructions, the easier it will be for people to remember it. Also, I can't emphasize enough, repetition, repetition, repetition. The more you repeat the blocking, the simpler it is to remember, the more it becomes a seamless part of the story you're telling, rather than, Miss Amanda said I had to move this way during this line. It can start to become part of their performances, and they'll remember it easier the more you repeat it, within the confines of the time you're spending doing it, of course.